Hi everyone, and welcome to ServiceNow Discovery ABC. What is ServiceNow Discovery, and how does it populate the configuration management database? Well, if we were to all sit down together right now to design and build our own Discovery application, the end result would look pretty much like ServiceNow Discovery. Because in order to detect devices in a network and to discover their technical specifications, we need to perform certain commands, certain operations. And these steps need to be performed in a certain order, which is what, in fact, ServiceNow Discovery does. This short demonstration is intended for all those who are new to ServiceNow Discovery. And we also touch very briefly on networking and server administration. And after watching this video, I encourage everyone to attend and enroll in the Discovery Fundamentals training course, because this is one of the best offerings that we have at ServiceNow. I'll put a link in the description below to classes that are upcoming. So the first thing that we need to do is to scan the network. And when we do that, we see not only what devices are up and available, but also what ports in those devices are open and available for connection, because those open ports will actually tell us more or less what kind of device it is. So if we perform an Nmap operation here to scan a subnetwork here, I actually don't have that many devices in this network, but it's going to tell me that I've got two devices here. And I know just by looking at the port numbers here that both of them are Windows devices, because if we look at port number 135 for both of them, they are both open. And this is the standard communication port that Windows devices use. Now, at this point, we don't know if it's a Windows server or a laptop or whatever. We just know that it's a Windows device. So we can actually perform that same Nmap operation on a single IP address. And we can see here that this is also one of those Windows devices. Or if I take another IP address here, which I know is a Linux server, the result that we get back shows that port number 22 is open, which is the standard port used for SSH connections. Okay, so now that we know that there's a device there and broadly what kind of device it is, the next thing we need to do in Discovery is to classify. In other words, we need to find out the target table in the CMDB to either create a new record or to update an existing one. And for most hardware, most servers and computers, we actually use the operating system to perform this classification. So if I do or perform this command right here, that is actually a WMI query, which is a Windows Management and Instrumentation protocol for querying devices. And there are many different tables or classes and different properties in there that we can get. So here I'm getting details about the operating system. So if I execute that command, it's just going to tell me that it's Microsoft Windows Server 2019 Data Center. Now this operation that I've just performed is on the device that I'm using right now. But these are the same commands that Discovery actually uses. So it actually logs on with credentials and executes many of the commands that we're going to look at in this little demonstration. So we know just by looking at this that the record that we need to create or update is in the Windows Server table in the CMDB. Because Windows home devices, they're actually classified as computers and saved in that table. So now that we know the table, we need to find out if we have a record of that device or not. And the way that we normally do that for hardware devices is by getting the serial number. That's usually the unique identifier for any kind of device. So there's another command that we can execute for that. Basically another class we can query. There's actually a few different places in a Windows machine that you can get a serial number. There's one recorded in the BIOS, which is what we're using here. You can get it from the network adapter. And there is another location, but it escapes me at this point. So if I execute that, now we've got the serial number. So guess what? We've just performed the first three phases of Discovery. We've scanned the device, we can classify it according to the operating system, and we can identify it using the serial number. So the only thing that's remaining now is to explore the device and get any technical details that we want about it. So there is a whole host of commands that we use, queries that we perform to get various data. So I can just execute a few here just to demonstrate some of the more common ones. For example, we could get the CPU details here. Notice I'm only getting the manufacturer and the max clock speed properties from that class. There are other properties that you could obtain as well. But here we can see it's an Intel processor, clock speed, 2300. And if I execute this command here to get the IP address from the network adapter, there we go. We also got the MAC address as well, which we could also use for identification purposes as well, depending on your identification rules. And if you want to get the list of the software that's installed, depending on how the software is installed, there's maybe 2 or 3 different locations where that data is saved. So we could execute a command like this, which is actually a query of the registry to get these details. So if I execute that, then we've got this small volume of software installed on this Windows Server device. So that's it. That's how you can perform a discovery without using ServiceNow Discovery. Of course, by using ServiceNow Discovery, that brings in a whole bunch of automation. And at the end of the day, of course, it also populates your configuration management database with this data. So I hope you found this simple demonstration helpful, and maybe we will see you in a future Discovery Fundamentals class. Bye for now.